I'm sitting with my old friend Tony Bartleme. Tony and I go back a long way. We've done these stories before. Tony has followed me around the world during the solo race around the world. But Tony is an investigative journalist with the Post and Courier, a multiple time Pulitzer nominee, and a really good friend. Tony, welcome back. So good to see you.
Yeah, great to see you too.
Let's talk about journalism and what is the future of journalism. You have done some incredible stories. Give us a nutshell of some of the impact of the stories you've created so far.
So our stories in the last few years have uh, essentially put half a dozen people in jail, triggered half a dozen state and federal investigations that are ongoing. Some are ongoing, but essentially it's helped create this culture of scrutiny that would be lacking otherwise, and it's incredibly important for democracy to have that kind of local news presence.
The First Amendment right of free speech. Where is the line? Because in the right of free speech, we have sloppy journalism, we have social media, and with the result of some of these things, we have lies. What is that responsibility?
So a functioning democracy requires a set of shared values and facts, and it's really up to journalists to, through the journalistic process, create those shared facts. And social media, it can be so easily manipulated that those shared facts are only shared within certain groups, and so then you have distortions.
So let's look at, for example, so I'm fairly actively present in social media, and I speak about justice and I speak about freedom because of the background of my experience, the filters that I have come from. I'm not a journalist. A published author. I'm an award-winning author. But where is my responsibility versus your responsibility? How is this different?
So your job is to, you know, motivate the world, motivate people, and that's a very different process than mine, which is to analyze what's happening in the world, and then describe it and tell stories to people that help them make better decisions. So while in some ways your job is to motivate people and help them make better decisions as well, mine is to do that based on a analysis of what's happening in the world.
So, do you think we both have a role in being able to hold people like Trump or Putin accountable? How do I do my job? Because I know how you have to do your job.
Right. So I think it's important for people's voices to be heard, and essentially, what is this world is essentially but a bunch of voices competing for, you know, priority.
Attention.
Yeah. So if you don't speak up, other voices will gain that advantage.
So are we in a place in our society where we have now come to censorship? When I grew up in South Africa, books were banned because if it didn't support what the government wanted, journalists were placed on Robben Island or banned because they didn't write the stories that the power that was in control were writing. Throughout history, we've always had this fight for freedom, this fight for democracy, this fight for rights. And it's been the written word that has been such a critical component of being able to talk about truth and justice and fairness. And so in today's world of where we're having so many things that are twisted, why is why are there people in the journalist world giving fuel to the problem, not investigating and the facts to the problem?
So I actually don't think that that's changed. It's if you look at newspapers back in the 1860s or 1850s, right before the Civil War, you'll see the same disinformation. It's amazing to go through those old newspapers. It's essentially, I think, there's actually very little censorship that happens in this world. I think that what's happening is there's so many voices and so many distortions. You just don't know what to think.
And this is becoming the problem, that censorship is happening by being overwhelmed.
Exactly.
It becomes hard to distinguish what is fact from what is BS, what is lies, and you've got to dig so deep.
Yeah. So I think that the thing that helps me kind of sort through things is to identify sources of information that are trustworthy.
Well, that's why I appreciate our friendship, because we've always had that candid. We don't always agree, but we have the respect and we have the reputation. And your reputation is stellar. Your research is remarkable. So keep writing those stories and keep pushing for you. Always, your heart has told you what is the right thing. Tony, you're a dear friend, and you're a great journalist. And I want to see that Pulitzer in your hand one day because you've earned the rights to these things.
That's a Pulitzer just sitting with you. So,
Cheers. So